Good afternoon, everybody. For some reason, that countdown seemed to go really quickly this week. Caught me off my guard. Welcome to I Would Agree. I'm sure you're all sick of hearing me wang on about it now, but I have one more working day before I have my holiday leave booked in to go and get married a week tomorrow. I absolutely can't wait. And if anybody thinks I'm going to be enjoying the next week, relaxing, think again, because I think my missus has gladly filled it with all the last minute activities that we need to do. My guest for today, bit different to what I'd normally introduce on the show. So it's safe to say we've had a lot of contact center founders and experts on the show. We've had a lot of customer experience related people. We've had a lot of technology people. But Jim, who's about to come into the show, is definitely my first person to talk about chatbots on the show other than me. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thanks for inviting me along, Paul. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. And and I'm sure everybody else does, I love your little avatar that we used for the intro of the show, your metaverse Jim Rowe-Bot. Really like that. Before we get into the story of you, what's your thinking with the meta character, your avatar? Because I know you're passionate about metaverse, right?
Yeah, I think we are at very early stages. Web3 is very much startup world, so it's silly money at the moment. Lots of startups. The bubble will burst. It will happen. But out of that will come the next iteration of the web. It's happening whether you like it or not. And it is what it is. This version of the internet will not disappear, but there'll be another way to do things. It's coming, and I'm willing to embrace it and explore it, see where the opportunities are. And I think if I was having a child now and they were going to school, I'd be pointing them towards 3D design, graphic design, coding, ready for this next evolution of the internet.
Yeah, some interesting touch points to come back to there. But I guess for everybody who hasn't yet met you, a bit confused by your name. Is it Jim Rowe? Is it Jim Rowe-Bot? What is it that you do, Jim? Explain a brief overview for everyone, if you would.
What I do is I position myself between businesses that are making their first foray into chatbots and conversational AI and the products, the platforms, the analytical tools, the reporting, whatever it might be that they need to achieve their goals. You can pretty much guarantee that most businesses moving into the world of chatbots and conversational AI are doing it for the first time. They don't know what they're looking for. They don't know what the pitfalls are. They don't really know how to run that type of project. They don't know how to scope it. They often don't really know what they need. And not speaking badly about the platforms, but they just want to sell a product. And I totally get that. I help them sell their product. So being in that unique position, I'm able to ascertain what the client needs, go out to the market, and I've got some key partners, but I look wider than that if need be. And then I help make that happen. And at heart, really, I'm a project manager working in the chatbot and conversational AI space.
It's interesting. There's a huge amount of interest, especially in conversational AI. It's definitely, I'm gonna say buzzword. It's a bit of a buzzword at the moment because I think there's some businesses out there that are maybe using it when it's not really conversational AI, it's just advanced logic. But I could see a few that are like now starting to build out that AI path where it's learning its conversation based on what you've informed on it. I guess my first question is where we're at with chatbots now has moved along phenomenally from where we've been in the past. I think everybody's experienced bad chatbots, safe to say. Dressed up chatbots that propose to be live chat agents, chatbots that don't just go round in circles because we haven't tested them properly. So for those of us who are interested in this sort of automation, whether it's to start conversations off and getting through to an agent, whether it's kind of fielding low level questions, whether it's more replacing the FAQs, what for you have been the most interesting advancements in chatbots in recent years? What's cutting edge right now?
So I think if we talk strategically, I think it's the price of the products has dropped to a point where businesses that in the past would never have got a look in because it was just never priced out of the market can now explore that kind of AI driven chatbot technology. And it is truly amazing. And then once you start to link it with products like your own, So you can do the message analysis, the conversational, and get all the hard data, and then build an AI that can address elements of that where it needs to address it. I'm still a great believer in human to human conversation,
Yeah.
but being able to, whether it's allow customers to self-service, or as a business being able to ascertain what customers' needs are before they speak to an expensive human resource. I think for many businesses, that's the future, especially around heavy customer service driven businesses. I was talking recently to a sneaker brand, and looking at their conversational data, it's probably 40% of the customer service requests they get is a single question, and a single question that doesn't need a human. So there are opportunities everywhere. On the flip side of that, you've got a really blooming market. There is so much technological change going on in this market. There is new players joining the market all the time. I often say it's a bit of a wild west. It's hard to keep up. It's very much as I imagine the beginning of the internet was, where things are just happening so quick. You're battling to keep up with the new technologies. And that's something I like to help my clients with, because they see the next new shiny thing and they want to implement that into their chatbot. But that is often not what they need. They just need a chatbot that does one or two things really well. So yeah, it's a fascinating and exciting market to be involved in.
It's interesting you say that, because I see some parallels in terms of what we get asked about as well with conversation analytics. And it's, do you do real time? No, we don't do real time yet. We do close to real time. We do as real time as most people get to, but we want real time. Well, why do you need real time? Everybody needs real time, don't they? We're like, we just want it. Yeah, we're not going to sell you something just on the thing that you've got a passion for doing it in real time. Honestly, if you don't have conversation analytics to start with, it'll take you 18 months to work through all the things that we'll find for you before you can even consider real time. That's aside from the different strategy that it'll actually bring. So yeah, it sounds like there's some commonalities there in terms of what everybody wants AI in their business. And I honestly don't fully understand that. Yeah, AI can be a great thing. It can be a wonderful thing, but the passion for it seems to outweigh the benefits it can drive at the moment. I think what I liked when we first spoke was that you were, as you said, like an advocate for human interaction. That's bucks the trend for most people involved in your space, right?
Yeah, it books the trend for people in anything that has the ability to replace a human effectively. No AI, no computer, no software can beat a human conversation. There's just something special about it. But humans are an expensive resource. We've definitely seen over the past 3 years, especially within the working world, that people are looking for more out of life, and sitting in a contact center, answering those same 5 questions over and over again. People don't get job fulfillment from that. They get job fulfillment from helping customers with really difficult, challenging queries, and making that customer happy. That's where people get job satisfaction. So yes, one of the key selling points I often see is reducing human overheads, but that's not a key driver. One thing that people massively underestimate is the ability for a chatbot to scale up and scale down. So you don't really, in some strategies, you don't need the chatbot active until suddenly something happens. And that could be a national emergency, a massive campaign goes out, your Vodafone and the network's gone down, whatever it might be. And then you can suddenly just bring in this extra digital resource just to do some of the heavy lifting. I've been in a call center when it's gone crazy. I used to work in social housing, and like the morning after, there'd been a big storm and trees are down and people's windows are smashed. And just a number of things. People's houses have been flooded. The contact center is a horrific place to be. Being able to just rock in with your chatbot, switch it on, ramp it up, is an amazing thing. And I think people naturally are scared for their jobs, but actually can make their jobs so much better.
I think there's a couple of things to that. One of them would be, if I'm an agent in a call center, let's be honest, there's various breeds of agents in call centers. Some of them are absolutely meant to do that job, and they are tremendously good at it. what I would say to anybody who's out there now who's sat there worrying that their job's going to get taken over by AI, it's not, as long as you're good at the human bit. If all you're good at is answering the phone and doing the bare minimum and the basics, then you will get replaced by a chatbot or an AI at some point, because you better believe that's not adding value. You're paid to be a human. And the flip side of that to the businesses that have those agents is as well, encourage your agents to be human. Don't make them robots, and don't try and replace them with robots, because you will lose your customer value as a result of it.
So very true. A lot of people don't know that I did a month working in a call center, working for a company called PC Service Call. So that used to be PC World, Dixon's, Curry's, and I was on I think it was the pound a minute line. So it was people that had brought computers, and the maximum that could be on the phone, because it was expensive and it was regulated, was 20 minutes, and you had to solve their problems. And I was sat in a little cubicle and a team of 12, and I was awful at it. But I saw some absolute kings and queens at that. They were just, I was in awe watching them work. They were so unbelievable. And AI is not going to replace those people for sure.
No, 100%. Nor should it. I see a lot of conversations around automating conversations. And I think to a certain extent, to automate conversations where the customer would prefer to self-serve, absolutely, let's get that done. But it's got to be their preference. But where they're actually being forced to digitize because you want to remove demand from a more expensive channel, I think that is a mistake in my eyes. And I actually think on the flip side, I think you actually leave a lot of value on the table, because an AI chatbot's not going to create rapport. Any form of automation is not going to create rapport. It's not going to build your value in the eyes of the customer. And actually, we talk about handing off very simple transactions to automation. In my eyes, it's something that our CEO Jimmy talks about quite regular. Those are the conversations that you can quickly come out with a win for the business in terms of positive sentiment. You've built a bit of rapport. You've maybe learned something about the customer, or you've had the opportunity to cross-sell or upsell because it was actually a positive sentiment conversation. And that's where a lot of businesses are leaving value on the table for themselves, is automating too much for the wrong reasons. I think you've got to be really, I'd imagine it's much the same for yourself. You've got to be very hands-on with helping the business understand what their actual business case is compared to what they actually come to you with.
Yeah, 100%. So I did, one aspect of my work is I always send prospects away with a little bit of homework, which is, it's not difficult. It's not a difficult, it's not difficult in theory, but they never get it. I just go away and say, I want you to think of the use cases, and then just come back with what you want your chatbot to do using Moscow, which is must do, should do, could do, and must never do. And it's an interesting eye opener when they start doing that. Did that recently in the last few weeks with a huge global company. And yeah, they found it a real challenge, but it was a good conversation starter. And actually, I'll be honest, I want to sell the service to help them develop part of it is help them develop their Moscow, so they know what their chatbot's supposed to be doing and what it's not supposed to be doing. And then from that, you can start to strategize. But yeah, and this is why I think I ended up speaking to you, because we had these conversations around analytics, is what I'm told by clients around customer conversations is mainly incorrect, because they truly don't understand the conversational data they have. They make assumptions, and I'll give you basically it's 80-20 rule. If I'm building an FAQ bot for someone, 80% of the FAQs they give me are never used, because customers are not asking those questions. And actually you ended up generating a load more, because you're now getting actual conversations. You find a lot more about what customers really want to know.
It's exactly right. And I think the future for chatbot companies will be those companies that actually either build their own conversational analytics, which I don't think many will be, depends on their budget and their investment. But I don't think many are interested to do that, because it's not their niche. The interesting thing will be to see which of those chatbot companies acquire or partner with heavily analytics companies. And we're already partnering with a couple of businesses, as Link Mobility, Com100, who provide similar sort of services because they see the massive value that we can add to their customer build by providing those customer journeys in the first place. And we always joke about it internally in terms of your average company builds it by getting a lot of C-suite or director level and VP level people into a room who haven't been on the phones for years, probably. Put them on, give them a big whiteboard and a pad of sticky notes. Tell me your customer journeys. Is that reflecting real life? Like, best of intentions, absolutely. And I've no doubt it drives some good conversations, worthwhile activity, but nothing actually beats what's happening in real time. Do you see many chatbot companies or conversational AI businesses who are aware of their need for analytics? Or are they starting to become aware of it?
Yeah, they are definitely starting to become aware. There's a lot of conversational AI products I don't recommend because their analytic tools are so weak. All of them is post chatbot conversation analytics. So they're not offering anything up front, which is, I think, where is they're missing a trick. So especially when you're dealing with bigger businesses, enterprise level businesses, being able to analyze their conversational data, whether it's through an agent, email, forms, all of that information together, and really know what the customers want answers to, and what as you said, the customer journeys are. None of them are doing it. It just doesn't seem to be a thing. It's a real frustration of mine, especially around products, and there's some amazing products out there, but they literally sell you a product and let you and basically to an enterprise, and then you're just left to get on with it. No real strategizing. There's no real support. There's no long-term relationship. They're just getting their monthly money coming through for the subscription and the number of messages, but there's no real helping the business to analyze what's happening in the first 12 weeks, strategizing, changing, iterating. And that's why I do what I do. I, I take that position. There should be no need for me, let's be honest. But currently there is.
There absolutely is. There absolutely is. I think for me, one of the interesting sides that I get to the analytics when we look at the conversation research that we do is just how irate customers can get with a badly designed chatbot or what they perceive to be a badly designed chatbot. And I'm not going to say that's always the fault of the business or the chatbot company. It's about understanding that behavioral thinking from the customer's perspective. And that's something we've always included behavioral design and behavioral science in what we do, because it's massively important, because it's not always logical. And there's all sorts of unintended side effects of doing things. Is that something that you're seeing any kind of real interest in from businesses, or do they acknowledge that behavioral awareness?
They totally get it. They see the risks, thankfully. But unfortunately, within this industry, there are people developing and designing chatbots that truly don't understand what it means to a customer. And it's not easy putting yourself in a customer's shoes, go through that experience, and kind of taking a step back. I might have spent 2 hours creating that conversation, another 2 hours doing the dialogue.
Yeah.
To stand back and look at it and think, a customer's going to bloody hate that. That's just awful. I'm not delivering that. I tell people, and I'll be clear, a typical simple FAQ, 2 hours. And that's 2 hours to take that FAQ that I've been given, which is often web speak.
Yeah.
Take it down to the minimum that's needed and the process. Think about after that FAQ, what do we need to provide the customer next? Building it, testing it, training it, UAT, launch. And that's one FAQ. So there's a lot of effort that goes into to building these things. And I think when customers sometimes see a quote, they don't quite understand the amount of work that's going to go into making their customer journey equal to, or if not better than, a human experience.
I think for me, one of the things that I always have a deep interest in is the point at which it becomes more efficient to hand over a conversation to a human, and not just to a digital conversation or to an email, but actually to a phone conversation. We've done analysis on emails and web chats and live chats and even chatbots as well, where the company is wrongly assuming that the complexity of contact with one or two issues that the customer's trying to resolve, which technically would be fine for simple service queries. But actually, when you dive into the full conversation analytics of it, you find that actually the customer's trying to express 5 or 6 different things.
Yeah.
And even with a human trying to deal with that via a digital channel, it would take 5, 6 emails. It would take your average chat conversation 40 minutes. Actually, could be resolved in about 10 minutes on a phone call and
Exactly.
save your customer experience. So for me, there's always a big thing around there about that digital handoff, and how do you enable that for the right customers without putting through the lazy customers who are just trying to get through to a human rather than self-serve themselves.
There's a balance, I think. So if you're a banking customer and you want to order a fresh bank card, or I don't know, change a password, does that need a human? No, it doesn't. But the moment they hit an issue, it needs to go to a human quick. We can't keep going around in circles. If he doesn't recognize their account number or it doesn't recognize an email, just straight away, you just end that and just say, I'm going to put it through to a human agent. You don't do those things twice. It's just,
Yeah.
it just frustrates customers. But they chose a chatbot because they thought it would be quicker. The moment they don't think it's going to be quicker, just get it to a human.
And to your point, quickly, for me, there's nothing worse than hitting that snag and then being told you've got to email someone or drop into a queue to be digitally emailed back. The irony with that is, like, when we look at like email response rates for complaints and apologies and things like that, actually, when the customer has an issue, the email that responds within the first 2 days actually delivers lower customer experience, because a lot of the time the customers are still very emotive about the subject.
Yeah.
And when you reply via email, they get very sharp and potentially wrongly assume that you haven't spent enough time digging into their issue and resolving it for them. Or they get a quick fire, we've got your email, we'll be back to your email, which does nothing more than annoy them, unless you're setting expectations as to when they can get a response. So for me, the key is to what you said there. If it's relatively simple, get them to a live chat agent, get them to a web chat, whatever. But if it's going to be a complex issue, get them onto a phone call, get them outbounded even to resolve those issues.
Yeah. What I've done with some businesses, and this works beautifully, is you get to a moment of difficulty. There's no agents available. It could be out of hours, for example. Is you just give them an option. You just say, do you want to organize a call back? Would you like to for me just to email the team and get someone to call you back tomorrow morning? Or would you like to pop back tomorrow?
Yeah.
And
it's also
sometimes just giving them options is a beautiful
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. It reminds me of, we work with a sales trainer called Andy Bounds. So I'll definitely going to tag him after this.
I know Andy. Yeah.
More Andy, yeah. He's definitely a character. But one of the things that he talks about, and I've seen it done a few times, is rather than give the option of, do you want this or not? Given the 2 options that are the alternative, like you said there, right? It's not a case of, do you want to call back or not? It's a case of, do you want to call back or do you want an email? And it reframes that in the customer's mind to, these are my 2 options. I'm going to pick one of them. And as long as the expectations are set and met, and I think that's key for me, is meeting the expectations. You don't need to set really high expectations and try and deliver and fail sometimes. Set low level to medium expectations and hit them consistently. Customer will be happy. Some interesting conversations from you today, Jim. And I know in the background you've been busy beavering away on your latest efforts for the business. Do you want to tell people at home about the course that you've been developing?
Yeah. So this has been on my mind for at least 12 months. And to be quite honest, it's bothering me now. So I thought I'm just going to get it to market, which is I'm creating a course called Selling Chatbots. It's actually Selling Chatbots and Conversational AI, but that's a horrible title. So Selling Chatbots works. It's easy to market that way. And it's coming along beautifully. Sometimes it is like getting blood out of a stone because I'm having to think quite deeply about this. But I'm trying to aim it at someone who is just coming into the world of chatbots and conversational AI, startup, could be on their own, whatever, all the way up to sales directors who've acquired a conversational AI product. They're building a sales team, and this is another product they've got to learn and take to market. And trying to get that balance is tricky, but it's going to be a warts and all 20, 30-hour training package at a decent price because I want to be able to service both markets. It draws on my experience of building, selling more than 300 chatbots. So yeah, it's a labor of love. I've set myself a goal to have it live by the 8th of August, which is going to be tight. It's going to be some long days, some night working, but yeah, it's just one of those things. Sometimes you just got to get it done.
I think it's a really great idea because to your point earlier on, I think a lot of people are scared of implementing chatbots. They're scared of getting it wrong, and rightly so, because there's a lot of pitfalls as we've discussed today.
Yeah.
But also budgets are tight right now. It's a really tough economic climate. Can people afford consultants as well as chatbot, as well as all the other pressures when they're trying to cut costs in the business? And to make the business case stand up, sometimes it doesn't feel like it's the right thing to do. And I think a course that's priced just gives people enough that they can go away and take some actions themselves, but also whets their appetite for what experience that you might have outside of their thinking and their world. And for me, there's nothing better than standing on the shoulders of somebody who's made all the mistakes before. That's certainly where we come from with what we do. We're not a consultancy. We offer consulting around the edges, but absolutely, if our clients want to get the best out of the platform, we're willing to put people forward to help them out so they can learn from all the mistakes that we made before. There's a lot of mistakes to be made in the R and data science, let's be fair.
Yeah, it's interesting. I spend a lot of time with product owners on sales calls. So they're either trying to demo or sell their product to me for me to resell for them, or I've introduced someone. And if I ever make an introduction, I like to be in on the first sales call. And what I've realized is they're not very good at selling. Really not very good at selling chatbots and conversational AI because a lot of the time they don't truly understand what they're selling and they've never done it. They've never built a chatbot. They've never had it fall over. They've never had the horrible customer experience. And when you build something, you put it out in the world and it just goes haywire. Yeah. The aim of the course is to help those people along, basically. And they can pay me handsomely for it, basically.
It sounds fantastic, Jim. I'm looking forward to you launching the course, and good luck with it when it does launch. It sounds like it's going to be a real good benefit. I think it's much needed in the marketplace right now. I don't see anybody else doing that sort of thing. And we're big fans of market disruptors and different thinking here at TMAC. So congratulations on starting it, at least.
Yeah.
Starting is 2/3 of completion, as they say. I guess 30 minutes is almost up, believe it or not. And everybody pretty much has a heart attack at the 30-minute marker. For me, Jim, is there anything else that if there's one thing that people need to remember, if they're in that position where they're about to venture into chatbots or they've got one, it's not quite doing what they want it to do, what's the number one thing that you'd ask them to consider?
So the number one mistake I see is that people start with the product. So they go out and they go and look at the market, and you can Google this yourself. Buy a chatbot platforms, chatbot software. That's the searches people are doing. They're not doing what's the best strategy for delivering a chatbot. They're not starting at the right end. They're not understanding their own data. They're not understanding the customer's real needs and what they're trying to achieve. Being able to develop a robust scope before you even go out to the platforms is definitely the way ahead. And people just don't seem to do that.
Amazing. Really good advice, Jim. To be honest, I think you should work for TMAC. I think we're very much aligned in how we do things. Consider that an open opportunity to be an honorary TMACer going forwards. Great to speak to you, Jim. Thanks very much for your time coming on the show today. It's been a real pleasure. For everybody at home, as per the notice across the bottom, I am taking a break for 2 weeks. I'm not going to bang on about it anymore. When I see you next, I'll be a married man, ball and chain attached. Couldn't be happier. But yeah, we've got a break for 2 weeks, and then we've got some more exciting guests lined up for season 2. Is that? I don't know if I'm going to style it as season 2, but yes, some interesting conversations coming in a couple of weeks' time. I'll see you all in mid-August. Thanks for watching the show. If you've come along, feel free to reach out in the questions and in the comments for any questions that you've got, or reach out to myself or Jim in the direct messages. We're both open to network. And if you've got any questions at all about what's been discussed today or on previous episodes, feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to give our own advice for you. I'll see you later, Jim. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Paul. Have a great break.
I will do.